Thank you all for being here today. It's been a few meetings since we've been able to all get together, so it's good to see everybody. And before we have an opening prayer, I'd like to recognize Bill Kincaid, Chairman of the Wildlife Committee on the House side. Thank you very much for attending. And let everybody get in, and then we'll call Reverend Cook for opening prayer. Okay.
Pray with me, please. Lord, you are our refuge and our strength, an ever-present helper in the time of trouble. And dear Lord, we come before you this afternoon, realizing that you are the Lord of our life. Even in the midst of these troubled and uncertain times, we give you thanks because we know that you have a plan for us, a plan to help us to make sure that we have an abundant life and prosper. And Father, according to your holy will, now we ask that you just be with us this day. We give you thanks, O God, for these, your servants, your children, who give of their time and their efforts, their resources, Father, in the service of your people. And dear Lord, we lift up today especially our brother, your servant, Scott Cookwood, dear Lord, who have served with distinction and honor, who have been committed to the great commandment of having dominion over your creation, made decisions that was in the best interest of all those to which you have given him charge. Father, we ask you continue to bless him, continue to be with him, continue to bless the very works of his hand, that all that he does from this day forward will be a pleasure to him and a blessing to your people. And dear Lord, we ask your blessing upon all of these who are gathered here. Bless them individually and collectively according to their needs and your riches. Look to us now as we attend to the affairs of this day. We ask that the words of our mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in your holy sight. For, O God, you are our strength and our Redeemer. In the name of Jesus the Christ we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you, Rob. Okay, has everybody had a chance to look over the minutes?
Move to accept.
That's right. Have a motion to accept over here. Need a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, how about today's agenda? Has everybody had a chance to look over today's agenda? Are there any changes?
There's no change.
No change. Okay.
Move to accept.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Agenda as is. Okay, public comments. First, we have Mississippi Hunting Dog Association, David Smith.
Sure, Mr. Sullivan don't want to go first since he was the last to get on the agenda.
You have 5 minutes.
Anyway, we've just had gotten a few calls in reference to the harvest report. And then we started getting some people commenting to us about the questions asked on the harvest report. And, you know, when we checked into it about the 2019-2020 harvest report, we just wondered why they had questions like, do you support corrective collars for dog hunting in Mississippi? And do you support a permit system? And do you support designated dog hunting areas versus still hunting areas? And we were just questioning, you know, why was this even put on the harvest report? When we have been begging and pleading with the wildlife fisheries and everyone to work with us through the Hunt Dog Association about these reports and or any kind of survey, and we was never notified or contacted. Also, we had a few folks that was kind of upset about some of the questions at the tail end of asking what was their highest level of education, what yearly salary did they make, and what was their race. They didn't feel it was appropriate. So that's just some comments we've had about the harvest report, and we would appreciate any info and questions of where, why, who, and how all that originated. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the Theodore Mars management area, which is in Pearl River County. I know it's only 900 acres, and I think it's set aside for youth deer hunting, and they opened it up for rabbit hunting. And they had several places, people in the last couple of years went there rabbit hunting, and they started losing dogs. Well, we recently had some of the local fox hunters in the area had a hound that was picked up, and the GPS collar went question mark. And anyway, the hound was sitting, high up in Hound of the Year across the United States, sitting 7th. So he posted on Facebook and everything, and we finally found out where the dog was at. Well, by the time we found out, the hound had been held for 5 days, and according to the laws, they had no longer rights to it, even though we identified it, had tattoos, and it's only about a quarter of a mile from this management area. And then after talking with an officer of wildlife fisheries in that area, he is well aware of it and was well aware of many beagles that had went to miss in that area. And now we know where they've been going. These folks take them, put them on a website, and sell them. And this particular hound was held for 5 days, taken to a vet, neutered, and was sold to someone in New Jersey for a house pet. But by laws in Mississippi, there's nothing we can do once that dog leaves the state of Mississippi. So in the future, I would just appreciate some more help from wildlife fisheries. I know Officer Deschamps is doing all he can do, but I think it's something that maybe needs to be looked at and monitored in the upcoming hunting season, because he even told us that people basically quit trying to go rabbit hunting there because they're too worried about losing their dogs. So, but anyway, that's really all I've got right now. We're just really looking for a lot of questions and answers. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for you?
David,
Comments?
you're talking about those questions, were those on the harvest report or a survey?
Well, it was on the phone call survey.
The phone call
about the
survey.
harvest
Phone
report.
call, so not the harvest report is from the turkey hunting.
You're talking about phone call surveys, what you're
Yeah.
talking about? Okay, we're trying to understand.
Well, that's what we was trying to understand. That, I mean, all this, we
Well,
got,
there's a lot of questions answered on those, asked on those surveys. I mean, this is one style of hunting in Mississippi.
yeah, well.
There's archery, we put out archery surveys, put out fishing surveys, put all kinds of surveys.
I mean, but the only response we got was an email saying that they had a firm out of Harrisburg, Virginia, doing a survey that you may, if you was a license holder, you may get a phone call. And, we just wondering if it's relevant to the harvest report, what's these questions got to do with harvest report?
It was a hunter survey. I don't think it had to do with necessarily harvest report.
It is the hunter survey.
Well, it's not, so in the survey, there are questions asked about methodology of hunting, archery hunting, gun hunting, methodology of hunting in addition to the harvest. So it's not just a harvest survey. It asks
Annual hunter survey.
It's an annual hunter survey that's been done for, since 1974. It's been done by this company for a number of years. And so it asks specific questions related to not only harvest, but also methodology of hunting.
So we've never seen it before, never heard of it. And I only had 3 people that contacted us that I know of about it. And, it's just,
It's a random survey.
It's right. So all license holders over the last year, that database is held by the company, and so they contact 5,000 hunters from that license database. So it's a random survey. It's a cross section of all license holders.
Yeah.
And that survey has been done again since 1974.
And another comment I'd like to say about that, and I've said it before, is the more dog hunters dwindle down, your license is dwindling. I did my own survey asking groups, and these guys that hunt behind a locked gate that lease land, they don't buy a license no more, because they said they never see a game warden and they never confront anybody, so they don't worry about buying a hunting license. So that's another thing y'all need to think about, because, and I've contacted over 100, and I couldn't find 5 that bought a hunting license. So, you know, all dog hunters buy a license. We got to, because we see y'all out in the field every day, and we're one of the biggest supporters of the license.
Thank you.
Anyway, we just, you know, any further information, we would love to be informed about on these type surveys. And I've been president of the Hunt Dog Association, I don't know how many years now, but I've been involved with it since '93, and that's the first questions I've seen on any survey that anybody contacted us about the permit and the corrective collars and all that. I've never seen it before. So,
Thank you, Mr. Smith. We appreciate
All
your
right,
comments,
thank you.
appreciate you being here. Okay, Rural Property Rights, Preston Sullivan and Thomas Pitts.
Hello again. I was here last year in July, 11 months ago. I spoke to y'all then. I'm the president of the Rural Property Rights Association. We're a statewide landowners and leaseholders association. We've been in operation for 10 years. Anyway, I wanted to respond to some of David's comments, and I have a few more also. Russ, would you explain random sampling procedure, please?
Sure, so they receive the license database, and
They who?
the responsive management, the company that conducts the annual hunter survey. And so they call license holders from that database at random. And they contact so many people until they have, again, I think at least 5,000 people who actually completed the survey. So they're probably going to call more than that. It's got to be a certain number of people that actually complete the survey, because some people choose not to do that.
And the sampling is done completely randomly, right?
That's correct.
And so that was my point. I was trying to help David understand random sampling procedure. Does it make sense now that the calls are completely random? Like say there's 100,000 license holders, they're only going to call 5,000 of them at random using a random number generator. So maybe 117, 142 gets a call, and then 2,819 gets a call, and then 52,819. It's all random.
I understand the random.
Okay, that's great.
I just
That's-
didn't understand the question.
I understand too. And I want to say it also for the record, I also didn't learn about it until 2 weeks ago, which is of no consequence. I don't mind that at all. That's the nature of random sampling. So, I'm glad y'all are doing the survey. We continue to have, good responses from the Homestead Permit System. It's a model that can be used in other places, and that's something that we can move forward with, and I'm hoping that y'all will continue to move forward with regulations. Last time I submitted a permit system to y'all in October, statewide permit system, after our board went over it a bunch of times, and happy to have that to y'all and hope that it's of value to you. And let's see, I don't really have a whole lot else to talk about. I've got 2 other speakers that are members of our organization, Thomas Pitts and Chad Emerson, that came today. I'll yield the rest of my time to them.
Most of that.
Got some handouts here. Brochures of rural property rights.
I hadn't been involved in any of this scoping and stuff since the land swap. And that cost me my chance to be the principal at Gulfport High School, so I hope this don't come back to haunt me, this deer hunting with dogs situation. I'm Thomas Pitts, and I'm a resident of Perry County. Been a teacher, principal, and coach, life member of the NRA and Wildlife Federation, and president of the Friends of the Southern National Forest. I'm an avid hunter of all seasons, and I own running rabbit dogs. Importantly, I'm not here representing the Rural Property Rights Association to eliminate running dogs, running deer with dogs. I want that understood, but I'm representing 74 individuals in and around the Janus area. And Janus is halfway between New Augusta and Wiggins, Mississippi, on Highway 29. We're right in the middle of a hot spot, public land hunting. But with men, we got a problem, not just in our area, but in the state. We're running dogs on private land or encroaching or whatever, whether they can't read posted signs, but the hunters in our area, we have about probably 12 different hunting groups. And a good many of them, about 10 of the groups, own or lease their campsites. And we pretty well know everybody, and we get along. Now, I'm not going to excuse all of them because things are going to happen. But what our problem is out-of-county people are coming in with their hunting groups, and these are the individuals that are trespassing, intimidating our elderly people, harassing our women, blocking driveways, going down in roads, cussing, and carrying on, and when they're confronted. So we know that we got state laws against trespassing, so we don't, it's kind of like gun laws. We don't need any more laws. We just need to enforce the ones that we have. And I'm not going to go into any more specifics. I know y'all's time's limited and my time's limited, but if I could bring some of the elderly and the women up here and tell the stories that they told us at the Forest Service meeting some months ago before this corona thing came, you'd hang your head. And not a one of you here would tolerate it. Not a one of you would tolerate your wife, your mother, or whatever being treated like they've been treated. And we're just not going to go through another hunting season and tolerate it. Now, we got Forest Service marshals. We got one game warden, Don Fairley, I think, in our area. But our go-to man is Sheriff Mitch Nobles. He's our go-to man. He'll come. Dog on my front porch at 3:30 in the morning squalling because the dog hunter is up there on the road with a training collar trying to get him to come, blowing the horn and everything. So we got a trespasser and a disturbance of the peace. So have to get the deputies down there to get him out of there and take him up to the road to where his owners are. And this goes on year round. It don't matter what season it is. Don't matter about a deer season, don't matter about a hunting season, turkey season or whatever. All year long, they're running dogs into the DeSoto National Forest. And I'm standing there turkey hunting, talking to Don on the telephone and telling him where they're at. And he's trying to catch up with them. Yeah, but nobody can't get caught. They're out there at nights and 7, 8 different individuals building fires, which is against the law also, and to not have a fire permit, and doing what they want to. After they leave during deer season, ride down through there and look at the trash. You got dog food sacks, you got corn sacks, you got beer cans, you got 6-pack holders, you got case packs laying everywhere. They clean their trucks out wherever they stop. That's a common practice. And they just a number of things. I said I wasn't gonna get really fired up about this, but I'm not against the hunting with dogs. And I'm not against my individuals that I know. So I can't come here and talk about my fellow hunters that I know and I've hunted with. I've been a deer dog hunter myself. Now, if any of you want to ask me a question, I've been in that area forever. I grew up in Chickasaw, and I live down there now permanently. I've had property there for 25 years and hunted with different groups in the area. So if there's any question, I'd love to answer it, because I know that well. I know that
We're
area
running over
well.
time in a big way. Does anybody have any question or comments? Or do you have one more speaker? Do we have one more speaker? One more, okay. So,
Okay.
do y'all have any comments or questions from Mr. Pitts? Okay, let's have a couple more minutes and then we need to move on. Is that
Hey
okay
guys,
with
I'll
everybody?
talk loud and I'll talk fast, because I know you guys are busy. My name's Chad Edmondson, I'm from Hattiesburg. We have some land, about 160 acres in Wayne County, just about less than a mile from the Jones County line, inside the DeSoto National Forest. What that means, because we have a road running through our property and a road to our east, one to our west, and then a burn lane and a trail to our south, is that for 39 days, our property gets overrun by dog hunters. And it makes it miserable. On a good year, our still hunting is ruined. In a bad year, I have to deal with vandalism, have to deal with theft, I have to deal with threats. I had 3 gates stolen last year. I've had used shotgun shells put in my stands. It pretty much ruins this whole property for us for 39 days a year. The most frustrating part about it, it's inside the National Forest, but my family was there first. We've owned this land for 200 years, and for 39 days a year, we can't use it without being run over. I have guys parking 50 yards from my stand, sitting there cutting up in the right of way. I have dogs underneath my stand. I have dogs coming into my stand, and there's nothing I can do. I'm 40 minutes from Waynesboro Sheriff's Department. Even if I get a dog, and I don't know how I'm gonna get it without taking a leash and some dog treats out there, because they're faster than I am. I'm pretty slow. There's no way for me to take that dog out to the Sheriff's Department and report for trespassing. They put spotters they park their truck at the National Forest line on their property, and when I drive by, they use a cell phone to call everybody else to get back to the right of way. So by the time I get there, I can't say that they're trespassing because they're back in the right of way. But I can see their beer cans 30 yards in on my food plot. It is unfashionable. I cannot understand in the United States of America why I don't have the rights to a property that's been in my family for 200 years that we homesteaded before the National Forest was even there. All I'm asking you guys to do is to give me some tools to limit this issue on my property. Give me a permit system. Require collars. I have got no problem with dog hunting. I've got a good-for-nothing pointing lab at home right now that can't point a quail to save his life. I still love the dog. I still have it. I still try to hunt on it. So the most fun I've had in my entire life is hunting black bears in North Carolina behind dogs. But when we did that, we got into a property that was big enough that they would not trespass on somebody else's land, and they had GPS collars with control signals on there that they could buzz that dog when they saw on the map that it was going over towards somebody else's private property. They didn't have permission to hunt. I'm asking you guys as nicely as I can for situations that can go on in my family we've been frustrated with for literally decades. Please give me some sort of tools to deal with this issue. Because right now, you don't want to be anywhere near my property for 39 days. And I don't think that's fair for a guy who believes in hunting in Mississippi. I've owned a license since I was 16. I got one of those lifetime licenses. I bought one for my 2 kids as well. I'm trying to support Mississippi hunting, but it seems like the Mississippi's given some rules that make me not be able to protect my own property. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Any comments? Anything? Okay. Okay, Chris, you're up to bat. Mississippi River Landowners Alliance, Chris Winter.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. I'm Chris Winter. I'm the Vice President of the Mississippi River Landowners Alliance. We represent 250 to 300,000 acres in the Bachelor. primarily in the Bachelor. From Memphis down to Vicksburg, and we're concerned about the regulation that was on the agenda, closing turkey season during flood zone, in the flood zones that were already established for deer. For a couple of reasons. First of all, it's never happened before. We don't see that it's ever, it didn't happen in 1973, didn't happen in 2011. It's never been closed before. And the people back there take good care of the resources. That's some of the oldest tradition and history of turkey hunting in the state of Mississippi comes from the Bachelor. For whatever reason, the turkeys seem to have a remarkable ability to bounce back in the Bachelor. Obviously, there was somebody who had some issue somewhere about this, but we feel like overall this is something that we're opposed to. First of all, it's not, there's no urgency to it. Turkey season doesn't start till next March, and there are stakeholders that probably need to contribute and have the opportunity to comment on this proposal. The rule also takes in some property that's outside of the levee, that is acreage that may not have any impact whatsoever from the river that these people will not be able to hunt. And I understand having to come up with zones and boundaries that are understandable, but that's going to take some rights away from people who are not going to be able to hunt. Our ask of the commission today on this issue is to simply lay it on the table for this meeting and give everyone an opportunity to comment and gather all of the stakeholders' input and then make a decision on the issue.
Any comments, questions, Chris? Thank you, Chris, very much, appreciate it. Yes, sir.
I got off script a while ago. I had one more request. I'd like for y'all, the commission, to consider a survey of residents in public hunting areas as compared, to deer hunting with dogs. And so if you want to really know what they think and how they feel, then I'd like to see a survey, if at all possible, for our area and any public area, that involves allowance of running dogs for deer hunting or running dogs all year long. We had an individual had a draw in Leaf River Management area, which is right there at my property. And the morning that he and his son got up at daylight, and they had a turkey, they were gonna hunt. A guy from Greene County turned in there, and he dropped a load of dogs out. So, I mean, that's what we put up with, and that's during turkey season.
Thank you. All right, license sales. There you go, go ahead, Jason. Do what now? Does everybody I have down here? That's not the list we're going by.
All right, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the commission report for the month of May shows that hunting and fishing licenses are up for the first time this year, over $86,000. The revenue generated from resident license sales is up $271,000 versus this time last year. Small game freshwater fishing is up 22%. The 3-day freshwater fishing is up 45%. WMA permits up 10%, and commercial licenses are up 29%. Non-resident license sales are down less than 2%, but the annual freshwater fishing license is up 11%, and the 1-day freshwater fishing is up 13%. WMAs are also up from last year, 3%. The permit category, sales are down 6%, and the revenue from lifetime licenses are down 4%. At the bottom of your summary report, we currently have over 29,000 WMA app downloads. 22,000 of them are iOS users, 7,000 are Android users, and license packages. We've been selling them since May 10th of 2019. As of June 4th, we've sold 8,208 packages. Any questions?
Any questions?
That's a pretty good report.
Of course, hey,
sir.
Jason's here to do it. It's
I know.
gonna be good when he comes to it.
You think that people, a lot of people being, not working or whatever, and just decide they'd go fishing?
More time spent outdoors, yes, sir.
Just got outside and wanted to do something.
Correct.
I know the campgrounds that were closed during the corona, and when we opened them back up, people were lined up out in the, up and down the highway people wanting to do something and get out of the house. But that's a good report there, Jason.
Yes, sir.
There's some non-resident turkey permits are up and some other non-resident
Yes, sir.
licenses.
Even the WMA permits are up for non-residents, 3%.
Jason, describe the package you're talking about.
Well, the packages, we have 12 available online, and the best seller is the Sportsman's package, which basically gives you everything: the Sportsman's license, WMA, salt water, your duck stamp. So that's the best seller that we have.
That
Just
covers
a
magazine
clickable
too, right?
Magazine subscription also. Click a button, you have all of those in your package.
Do you think that the auto pay has made a difference?
It has. It has.
And we really haven't had any negative response on that, have we, the auto pay?
I think people appreciate it.
Yeah, most people that go on, it's just simple. They don't have to think about it the next year. So
Yeah.
we've gotten a lot of good responses from it.
Good, good.
You need to let Bolton have a good report one time instead of throwing him under the bus. Every
Okay.
time there's a bad report, throw him a bone.
I don't see Michael.
We'll let them do the one that you like. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jason, great. Okay, Rush Walsh, Wildlife.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So for our portion of the agenda today, we have several rules that would go final, as well as a proposed rule. Then we'll have a wild turkey report from Adam Butler. So the first rule you see on your agenda there was a rule that was brought last month. That's Rule 1.5, regulations regarding the taking, catching, or killing of any wild bird or wild animal on lands affected by floodwaters. And that rule, again, would have an automatic closure of turkey season if the river reached flood stage on several gauges. Based on the public comment from that, as well as Chris and the Landowner Alliance, we would propose today to allow an additional 30 days for comment on that, and it'd be proposed to go final or not next month.
I move we lay that on the table.
I second that.
Call.
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next one on the agenda there you see is final. That's Rule 2.7. That's cervid carcass importation, exportation. And again, the changes for this rule from last month dealt with the nomenclature for the CWD zones. We amended the language in there to speak to surveillance zones. We would also ask that we have 30 additional days for comment on this rule, so it can coincide with the proposed rule for CWD zone delineation.
Motion,
I'll make the same motion.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so next on the agenda is proposed Rule 2.9, chronic wasting disease zone delineation. So through the process of chronic wasting disease response since 2018, it's been somewhat of a fluid operation, and there have been zones that have been established in parts of Mississippi in response to CWD being present in certain areas of the state. And in regards to the change to the zones last month that established, where we had CWD management zones, there was a change to have CWD management zones as well as CWD surveillance zones. And those were not in rule. And so what we propose today is to propose Rule 2.9 that would actually establish and define what a CWD management zone is, as well as it would define what a CWD surveillance zone is. And so I'll be glad to go through that rule if you would like for me to, and go through that language. Can.
So this gives us more public comment opportunity to understand the rules and.
I think we kind of got to.
There will be proposal.
Yes, so this would allow for, again, for the definition of rules and for any future change that would allow opportunity for public comment. So
Around the geography and everything, the maps.
right. So within the rule for CWD management zones, CWD management zones shall be established using no less than 10-mile radius from the location of any known CWD positive detection. So you can see on the map here, the outside of the yellow, you see 4 zones there, orange, blue, the darker yellow, and the pink. Those would be a CWD management zone, and those within a 10-mile radius of known positive detections in Mississippi. And inside of those zones, no supplemental feeding is allowed, and those zones are defined based on county roads or state highways, county lines, or other geographic features or political boundaries that may be within that 10-mile radius. So in the broader yellow there, that would be a CWD surveillance zone, which what was a CWD management zone. So within those, the broader geography there, those would be the CWD surveillance zones, and those are no less than 25 miles from any known CWD positive detection. And the carcass transportation regulations would apply to there. So no portions of served carcasses could leave the broader yellow zone. You could harvest an animal inside of, let's say, the orange zone and carry it anywhere inside of the yellow zone, but certain portions of those carcasses could not leave the yellow zone. Also within the surveillance zones, supplemental feeding would be allowed as long as it is not in a management zone. So for example, in Lafayette County, because it is not in a management zone, supplemental feeding would be allowed there. The final portion of the rule would state that some zone criteria may be changed based on additional data. So if a positive were to be detected in, let's say, Quitman County, then that could now, or an additional management zone may be drafted there on an as-needed basis. Or surveillance zone may be expanded as needed as well.
Let me ask you this, just say if there was a positive somewhere, it would become within the 10-mile would be the zone, and then let's say that the 25-mile is not currently in a zone, in a survey, surveillance zone, it would come within, there would be a 25-mile surveillance zone at that point in time?
If it would need to be expanded, so if it's, let's say you found one in the north part of Lafayette County, you likely would not have to expand the surveillance zone as you would a management zone. But if you found it in, let's say, southeast Carroll County,
yeah,
you would likely need to, or you would need to expand the surveillance zone as well as a management zone.
Okay.
So it'd be a very dynamic process where
That's right.
we find more, we'll have
We're gonna
to
find.
and expand it, and another way, over time, if you find no more positives, then it could be changed, or it might be made smaller at some point over a period of time. But say if it's Queen County, we don't find any more in a few years or something.
Right.
It's not automatic, it'd have to be done by commission.
That's right. There'd be an opportunity for public comment there based on the
Right.
Other states have done that.
Yeah, and some states have done that before, after a certain amount of years.
Right.
But adding to a zone would be automatic if you find a positive.
That's right, and that's per also the CWD response plan.
Right.
It's already there.
It's already in the rules, so if you find more, then automatically establish the zone.
Right.
Yeah.
But because when you first talked about this, it's important for that surveillance zone, that carcass transportation is important, because if those were not surveillance zones, then if you had to go from one to the other, it's got to be completely deboned and everything else.
Right.
It would make it a lot harder on the hunter.
surveillance zones provide a lot more flexibility for movement of carcasses.
Any more questions, comments? Do we have any more use for this? Do we have anything else going on?
You need, this is a rule you're proposing.
This has to be voted
So you
on.
need a vote.
Okay.
I propose we accept the rule as staff
Do we have a
recommends.
second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
This is about the 30-day comment,
That's correct.
and then
We'll do the process,
We need to put in the map for anything else, is that it?
Mr. Chairman, I'll yield my time to Adam Butler.
Okay, do we need this?
Yeah.
He gonna put it
yeah.
up.
Mark, if you'll.
That's-
Adam, do you have any more charts you're putting up?
No, sir, I
Any
do
projection?
have a handout.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me to talk turkey, my favorite thing to do. I just want to give you an update on the 2020 season. There's been a lot of discussion about it. This year, it was an unusual turkey season, given coronavirus and a lot of people having more time on their hands to turkey hunt. It was also our second year of Game Check, which I think has been a real big success so far. And as was mentioned earlier, this was also our first year to capture harvest data on WMAs via our WMA check-in app, which I think went really, really well. You'll see the figure 1 in the handout that I got you there. Both Game Check and our WMA check-in apps were heavily used. Surprisingly to me, given WMAs, that they had, in some cases, the option of checking in check station. Almost 84% of the people still use the app, so that was really, really good. 81% of people reported turkeys through the app, even though there were other avenues for that, so real positive. This year, the total turkey harvest was reported through Game Check statewide was 12,005 turkeys, which was up slightly, down slightly over last year, pretty close. The number of total users to Game Check was 8,069, which is very close to last year. About 9% of our statewide turkey harvests reported through Game Check were coming from non-residents. On WMAs, a little bit different story. The coronavirus may have had an effect there. We saw that WMA man-days were up about 10%, WMA harvest was up about 10%, WMA man-days were up about 4 or 5%. So, that may be people being able to get out and take advantage of the time they had on their hands. Looking at where harvest is distributed across the state, which in terms of Game Check was really the real impetus for having harvest reporting so that we could look at harvest at the county level. The top 5 counties remained about the same. They were Attala, Lafayette, Copiah, Marshall, and Adams. 4 of those 5 were the same from last year. When you take into account the size of a given county and sort of back calculate, you can see that, as I show in figure 5 there, that turkey abundance in Mississippi seems to be highest in kind of the north central part of the state, with a couple of counties down in the southwest. And then, because now we've got multiple years of Game Check, if you look at that figure 6, we're able to look at change from year to year. So that shows that parts of the southern part of the state actually had a pretty sizable increase in their reported harvest at the county level as compared to 2019, which backs up what our brood data predicted. And so being able to show trends like that over time, I think is the real win for having Game Check data. We can also look at the timing of when turkey season or when turkey harvest happens. Again, most of our harvest happening very early in the season. About 50% of our harvest happened before March the 28th this year. And again, that's all data that we would not have had, prior to 2 years ago to be able to estimate these kind of things. So that's just a brief update on the 2020 turkey season. Any questions?
Looks great. Great information right here.
So you had your southeastern biologist meeting here. It was in Longleaf. The meeting you had a
Right,
Longleaf.
we did last year.
and
Unfortunately, that was the 2019 meeting. Unfortunately, this year's was canceled. It was
2019, right?
Yeah, it had been planned for Oklahoma, but as with a lot of meetings and conferences, it got canceled.
Right. So from that and what you're learning, what your harvest reporting, I mean, are you seeing any ideas that to be considered for the future? Or?
Absolutely, and as I believe I discussed on one of the conference calls that you guys had, I guess it would have been the April one, we are looking forward down the road on the frameworks and regulatory change. If you look around the southeast, that's a topic of the day. Most other
Right.
southeastern states have either changed turkey season regs recently or are entertaining it. We are doing several things to evaluate that. One, we've changed some frameworks on WMAs that we're getting data back and already have data back now from the check-in app. So we're going to be able to compare those changes to WMAs that didn't receive them. We're also starting a project with Mississippi State where we're working in conjunction with them to give them data that we already have to essentially be able to try to play what-if games with season frameworks. If we shorten the season, if we lower the bag limit, if we do different combinations of changes, what would the expected result be? And so I think we're going to evaluate all of that and then talk with our constituents and stakeholders and maybe coming back to you at some point in the future, but we don't have anything right now today as far as changes.
Other states like South Carolina, Georgia, they made some changes already, right?
Correct.
So I guess over time, maybe you'll see some data if it.
Right, and we have a benefit there in that several of our neighboring states have done some things recently, so it's, we're not working in isolation here. We can see how those changes have affected, Louisiana made a change 3 years ago, I think it was. So South Carolina just made one. So we're all talking and comparing notes.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Any more questions? Thank you so much. Great. Question?
Chairman, I had a quick question. We received a letter yesterday from Doug Mann stating that we could be on today's agenda about CWD zones. It doesn't appear the comments we were going to raise are necessary, but I do have a question. The action you guys took at last month's meeting is up on the website with the new surveillance zone and the shrinking of the management zones. And I know personally landowners who have already started supplemental feeding. So do you not need to take a formal vote now to revert that action pending this proposed rule? Because as I understand it, that action stands and people are currently allowed to supplemental feed according to this new rule, just as a matter of procedure.
I think the rule is supersedes the action. It was in our CWD management plan. And that is a fluid document. Technically, we could do that to cover bases, make sure. But I think the rule supersedes that. Did you want to comment?
The rule does supersede the plan, so that was the reason to went ahead and adopted the rule, that would take care of any of the issues that you were bringing up.
Right,
That
the
might be
rule hasn't been
unclear.
adopted, right? There's a 30-day period for public comment. It's a proposed rule, as I understand it. I know a number of groups are planning on weighing in on the proposed rule, and it's still up for consideration and changes if necessary.
So your
There
question.
seems to be confusion surrounding the matter, so I think people and landowners need clarification as to what they can and cannot do right now. So that's all I'm asking, is that you clarify what is allowed and what is not allowed with regard to the current situation with surveillance and management zones.
Well, through our social media and emails and the way we contact our hunters and fishermen and all the supporters of wildlife fisheries, those outlets should be notified that we've changed. That discussion was a discussion. It was not a rule. It was not proposed as a rule. So either way, we have to communicate it. Whether the commission votes or doesn't vote, it has to be communicated to everybody that this is not a rule.
It's still pending.
It's still pending.
So they shouldn't be able to feed yet. Is that?
In other words, they gotta be notified, they can't feed.
So right now, no one can supplemental feed the old
That's
management
correct.
zones stand.
That's correct.
Okay.
But,
It might be helpful to put something on the website. I just
oh, we plan to do that,
do think
absolutely.
there's confusion.
Yeah.
I know people are feeding right now.
Yeah, we can, but I thought it was pretty clear already.
Well-
But if there is any confusion, we have to, go ahead and take a vote on it.
Apparently, there's some confusion, so,
We got the cart full of horses over there.
yeah.
All right.
It's the agency's responsibility to get the message out there.
Right.
That was a discussion, it was not a proposed rule.
There was a discussion, because
Right.
we thought there was 30-day.
And we thought we were putting out for
We thought we
30
were putting
days.
out for 30-day comment.
We were
We
wrong.
never had intention that it was in place at that point in time.
But it's our responsibility to try to get the messages out there. And everybody you're in contact with, please let them know that that's not the rule.
But it's gonna be.
It's proposed and under 30-day
Right.
comment period.
Right.
Okay, so what do we want to do? Sam, just move?
I think the attorney says we're okay.
Yeah, move on.
Okay, all right, okay. All right, with that, let's move into law enforcement. Colonel Adcock.
Good afternoon.
There you go.
Here's that masked man.
My ears hadn't been pulled on this much since I was 5 years old. You should have a packet with our update in here in the past month. No license still seems to be our #1 citation, 128. Next, PFD at 71, trespassing at 61, no boat registration at 50, and reckless operation at 28. And officers still continue to spend quite a bit of time on these waterways. We're making sure of the social distancing and that the regulations are being followed there. We are handling quite a few nuisance alligator complaints, dealing with those. Got a picture there of one. You'll see a picture there of Officer Bowles releasing a rehabilitated bald eagle that was up in Tishomingo. And then animal damage calls, a lot of permits, animal control permits. It's probably 8 to 10 of those a day that we're having to look at. The shooting ranges are back open. I don't have any numbers for you right now. They were opened back up on the 4th. Next report, I will have a report on how they're doing, but from what I understand, they are pretty busy. Next, I brought Michelle's outreach report. One of the things she wanted me to make sure you saw was that during 2000, you see the maps there, 2018, 2019, those counties in green were the counties that were participating in the MSSP program. You see the ones now in 2000, we went from 8 to 25 counties.
That's something we need to publicize right there.
It really is. That's a great
Put that out
thing.
there, how it's going.
Also, something very important, when this thing first started out, it was the majority of the schools were private schools. This month, for the first time, public school applications have exceeded the private school. So I think they went from 17 to 19 public schools and 17 private schools. So that's good. We've been spending a lot of time. She grabs the officers from those locations and visits the schools to get this passed. The state shoot has been rescheduled to June 24th and 25th. We sat down and wrote a protocol of how we can safely do that and have those kids there to shoot, keep everything clean, keep them separated, and do this without having any problems and follow the guidelines.
At here or at?
This is at Turcotte. Any questions on?
Great.
Okay, I have 3 reinstatement requests today. I'm gonna call up first Joseph Golson. Joseph has satisfied the court. He is retaking hunter education, and we'll let him tell you his story.
We were riding around and we stopped and shot a deer one night and got caught suffered our consequences.
How much money did it cost you?
$2,250.
You shot a deer at night.
I was in a vehicle.
How many other times have y'all done that?
That was the first time.
Oh, that was the first time you were involved?
Think you'll ever do it again?
No, sir.
Do you know why it's dangerous to shoot at night?
On the roads and stuff, like traffic.
At night?
Yeah, why is it dangerous to shoot at night?
Can't see what you're shooting
Can't
at.
see what you're shooting at.
What if somebody's out in the woods out there, or houses out there?
It's been a lot worse.
Too many times it's daylight to hunt, you know, I mean, hunting at night ain't never gonna be the, you know, that's crazy. And you know, but you're a young man. I hope you learned your lesson.
Steve, any more to the story?
No, sir. One thing I would like to point out was they were very respectful, and they also were very helpful with the officer at the time of the charges. They did cooperate and told the truth at that time.
It wasn't a mechanical deer, was it?
No, sir.
A regular
It was
deer.
allowed deer. Well, at one time it was allowed deer.
What's your recommendation? What's your
I
recommendation?
recommend that this time that we give them their license back or give them an opportunity to repurchase a license. However, if this happens again, they'll do the full 3 years. Also, if they get caught with any other wildlife violation within the next year, that they complete this 3 years.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Don't let us see you again.
Next, I have Jake Glusenkamp. Jake was with Joseph. Same thing, he has satisfied the court, has retaken hunter education. We'll let him tell you his story.
We were riding around, we ended up stopping, and a deer walked out, we shot it at night. And we got caught, and they took us to jail.
Did you do the shooting?
I did.
You ever done it before?
No, sir.
You made the statement that you got caught. Is that this time or?
Yes, sir, just this time. We haven't done it before.
How much did it cost you?
$21.50.
Was it worth it?
Not sure.
You're 17 years old. Well, you will be 17 years old.
Yes, sir.
When you were 16, I reckon, would have, who paid that fine?
My parents.
Okay.
You didn't have to pay it.
Well, when you're 16 years old, where do you get $2,100? Is that story pretty well
Yes, sir.
it?
Yes, sir.
How far was the deer that you shot at?
I'd say maybe 50 yards.
You had a spotlight or something, or headlights? Or
Headlights.
could you see what it was, or?
I thought it was just done.
I mean, you can see the eyes and shot it.
You know, paved road or gravel road?
Gravel.
Around West Point?
It was in the hills.
Around my way, Louisville way, was it? Okay. What's your recommendation?
I recommend the same, that if we catch him again, that he will do a full 3 years on license revocation. Also, if he gets caught with any other wildlife violation in the next year, if his license will be revoked for the full 3 years.
We gonna see you again?
So moved.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Daniel Gill. Daniel also has satisfied the court, has retaken hunter education, and I'll let him tell you his story.
One night, Buddy and I, and two females, thought it'd be a good idea to go riding around. And I guess out of immaturity, I decided, hey, was a deer walked out, and I decided to shoot clear. After loading the deer up, a sheriff's officer went in behind us, saw the blood on my tailgate, and then ended up calling two of the wildlife officers. And from there, we worked with handcuffs, and we've been to court twice over this, and that's the story.
And what was the cost on it?
What did the justice court cost you?
$2,100.
But to put the cuffs on you,
Yes, sir.
did you have to spend a night in jail? They let you out?
They let me out.
This is where the serious business, shooting at night.
Yes, sir.
You old enough to know better.
Yes, sir. I know it.
Is that the story?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
What are the ladies with, you think?
Me and the buddy, the two girls were in the back seat, and I did ask the officers and the two wildlife officers, you know, that yes, they were in the vehicle with us, but no, they did not have a firearm, nor did they have a spotlight in their hands. And I did ask, you know, to.
So they didn't get charged?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, just you.
What's your recommendation?
Same recommendation. If he gets caught headlighting again, he'll do the full 3 years. If he gets another citation in the next year for anything wildlife related, that he will complete the 3 years.
That made for a bad date night, didn't it?
A long night.
Needless to say, we're not gonna see you again on this.
No, sir.
Yeah.
I move to reinstate.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
That's all I have, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Okay. Next up, we need to talk about our election of our commission officers for 2020, 2021. So I'll entertain a, well, actually, you don't vote on this at all, so go ahead. Well, we do. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like to,
You're gonna,
I'd like to propose that the chairman for 20 and 2021 be Commissioner Taylor, and the vice chairman be Commissioner Munger. That's my motion.
I'll second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I was hoping we could entertain some motions from the floor, somebody out there. Scott Mallons or anybody, but no. These guys ran unopposed. Okay, well, congratulations, y'all.
Thank
All
you for your
right.
time, Scott.
Thank you,
Appreciate
thank you
it.
very much. I appreciate it, but enjoyed it.
Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Can I bring up one other thing?
Absolutely, go right ahead.
I'm sorry, this took place after my report was prepared, but Saturday, we were contacted, MDWFP SRT team was contacted to search for the individual that allegedly killed the deputy in Simpson County. They responded. They were there a very short period of time. They were able to pick up a track this individual to a truck stop, and were able to capture him. He was on top of the axle of an 18-wheeler truck there, and they should be commended. Very good job. Our SRT team is second to none.
Yes,
Just
I agree.
tracking with dogs.
I saw the picture and saw the news and everything, but made me real proud to be a part of it.
Yes, sir.
They tracking with dogs, Steve?
Sir?
They tracking with dogs?
No, sir. They track them with officers.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you, Steve,
Please
for bringing that up.
congratulations.
We appreciate it. Okay, next commission meeting, Wednesday, July 15th here.
I recommend July 16th,
Okay, anybody, that okay with everybody?
Come in the
that
night
morning
before.
meeting. Come in the night before and meet the next morning.
Okay.
Education meeting and then the regular meeting. I like it better.
Okay,
Agree.
sounds good.
That'd be good for you, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
sir.
Before we close, I just want to say what a great honor it was to serve with you guys, and it has been just one of the highlights of my life I'll never forget. So with that, I've asked Robert to give us a closing prayer, and then we'll gavel out the adjournment. How about that? Anybody have anything else?
No executive session.
We don't have staff in here, but, staff that's in here, why don't you stand and give Chairman Coolwood.
Thank you.
Okay. Stand, please.
Methodist preacher.
Methodist preacher. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you.
Go in peace.
We're adjourned.